Maybe I'm crazy, but Adam Sandler is the new Al Pacino. It's facts. It's facts.
Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
Welcome to the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. Thank you for joining us this week. As I mentioned, Adam Sandler just decided to drop some heat on us on a Tuesday. You know, we just wake up after Chicago beating the awful Redskins, and Kevin Garnett's an actor, and Mike Francesa is a bookie. There's a lot happening, but we're going to talk about that later in the Culture Report. In review or preview, Mark Schlereth is going to join us today. Stink. He is a decorated offensive lineman, 3-time Super Bowl champ, and I actually have some big guy questions for him. I got some questions about some offensive lines out there that are getting blamed for some of the problems with specific teams, maybe the Browns for one, which some people don't seem to agree with me about. But we'll talk to him about that, get his thoughts. Plus, he's been covering a couple games around the NFL, so he's seen a couple other teams up close, so we can get his thoughts on them, particularly the Bears. Talk about Cam Newton, the Browns, as I mentioned. Daniel Jones is now the starter of the New York Football Giants and got a big win. The Eagles are giving us internet gold, but not necessarily winning games, which is what they're supposed to be doing. Michigan also stealing my time on a weekend. Don't appreciate that. Antonio Brown, we've got to have a real conversation about this Tekashi person. So we'll talk about that later as well in the Culture Report. Right, like I can refer to him as whatever I want at this point.
Snitch 9, yeah. Tekashi.
Yeah, Snitch 9. He is Snitch 9. But let's get started with Stink, Mark Schlereth, joining us on the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast. Stink, thank you for joining us again.
Yeah,
really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
It's always good to be on.
You've been busy. You've done the car wash today, so been on like every show, right? Did you do Undisputed?
No, I did not do Undisputed today.
Okay.
They were too busy for me apparently. So I was supposed to be on today, but
Oh, really? Let you sleep in a little bit.
no, I'm on my radio show. So I was
Oh,
here.
that's
I was here
right.
at 4 a.m. this morning.
That's right. Yeah, I don't have those hours anymore.
Yeah, I am that, but I'm that old. So that's
You get up at 4, like regularly, even when you don't have to work.
every day. I'm in the 4 o'clock hour. Feet are on the floor.
To do what? Like if you're not working
To drink coffee.
and like stare at the sunrise, or
Oh, I do a devotional every day, and then I always have something to do. So, but I just wake up. You get to an age where you just wake up. Like you get excited about. Like I get excited being on the road, getting in the sheets by myself. That's exciting, right? I got the whole bed to myself. I can kick the covers up. I don't have to argue with anybody. Like I got space, right? That's exciting to me.
Okay.
You get to an age where stuff like that's exciting.
what time do you go to sleep?
8:30, 9 o'clock.
That sounds so good.
It's like, I'm in my underpants and cold sheets.
So
this
good.
is awesome.
I don't go to sleep that early anymore, but I do. I still get probably the same amount of sleep. I'm not into the sleeping alone thing though. So that's an old person thing. No offense.
No, I mean, well, yeah, no, I mean, like when you have the whole bed to yourself, that's kind of exciting, right?
No,
No,
I'm a cuddler.
are you?
Yeah.
Oh well, okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. All right, move on.
so you have covered a couple games for
Sure.
Fox. You were at the Arizona Lions game,
Yes, I was.
which was a thriller that ended in a tie. How do you feel about ties? I hate ties.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. It's not an ideal way to end it. Like, I would much rather end it so I could catch a flight, usually. Anytime you roll into overtime and you're calling a game, you're like, really? Can you guys get your done?
Even
Get
if
it
it's like
together?
an exciting game that goes into overtime.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but there's a point where you start going. You're in the middle of the game. This is horrible. But you're in the middle of the game and you start looking at you start packing stuff like in breaks. You're like packing up some of your stuff that you don't need, and you're like, okay, hope somebody ends this thing, and then you start checking your watch because you're like, shoot, I got a flight here in an hour, or
Right.
an hour and 15 hour, So yeah, because everybody they call it the escape when you do a game. So as soon as the game's done, like I always, with about 2 minutes left during the TV timeouts, I'm packing my stuff up so my bag is packed, right? And then bam, we bust out of there. We run to the elevators, go down to the trucks. Everybody's stuff is loaded in a car, and we've got a police escort outside.
Right.
And so you jump in the car, everybody goes, hey, great game, great game. Boom, you're off to the airport because everybody schedules their flight. Like if the game is supposed to be 3 hours, you always think, okay, it's going to go a little bit longer, maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes or whatever. So at that point you go, okay, what's the closest flight I can get without totally stressing myself out? It's like a game.
Yeah, it
this
sounds
is
like
the game within the game.
Pure adrenaline.
Right, it is. You're adrenaline junkie. You're like, do I have pre-TSA? Let's get on this thing. Where's my clear? Let's roll, right? And so you're flying out, and then it just depends. Like sometimes I'm the guy that's in the bathroom too. Like if I have enough time, I'm in the guy in the bathroom in the men's room, just to like, and everybody's walking in. I'm standing in my underpants, no socks, just standing there, like, hey, how you doing? Because I take my suit off. I don't want to travel home in my suit.
Oh, at the airport.
At the airport.
I have no idea where you were doing this.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
No, not in the middle of the
Why
airport,
not?
but I'm the
We do that
guy.
at
So,
a
it's
stadium.
shocking when you see me standing there in my
So wait, Stink, come on. You don't go in the stall? You just change in the middle of the bathroom like a child?
Yeah. Just like a kid.
So people walk into the airport bathroom. You could possibly, if you're a well-traveled person, could possibly walk into the men's bathroom at said airport and see you in your underpants.
In my underpants, no shirt on,
doesn't anyone
and I am yoked. By the way, I'm just absolutely yoked. I'm like the little kid.
Do you leave your socks on,
in,
or you have your bare feet on these bathroom floors?
No, I either stand on top of my tennis shoes that I'm about to put on and put my socks on. Yeah. But it's not like I'm standing in front of the urinal naked with no shoes on, right? Like, have you ever seen a person in the airplane?
I mean, you're
People
never
in the airplane
sans
are disgusting,
underpants,
but
right?
go into the bathroom with the, what's that?
You're not you don't change the underpants also, right?
No. Just I'm in my underpants.
Not that it makes it any less weird. It's still 100% weird. But
like sometimes
like
guys will walk in. I'm just standing there with shirtless, just in my underpants. Like,
I don't know what I would do if I walked into a women's restroom
and somebody's just in
and
their
the
panties?
woman was just in her underpants. Yeah, I'm not into weird stuff at airports or airplanes. I'm ready to go hands on at all moments. So any weird stuff is like it's available. I strike you.
Do you ever see right?
So if I see a woman, I'm gonna have questions immediately. I have to evaluate the situation and see how crazy it's about to get.
I always
because fighting naked people not fun.
Right, but you see people are weird. Like people travel are weird. Like I've watched people go into the bathroom on an airplane. I'm on an airplane every week, multiple times a week, in their socks or with bare feet. So I always leave a little urine on the floor of every I do. I just for the person that goes in with their socks on or bare feet, I always leave a little bit. That's my urine on your feet. It's like marking your territory. Just for those people that do that. Or the guy who wears a tank top. Nobody wants to see your nasty armpits on the plane.
I'm not with the urine on the floor thing. It's super gross.
It's sterile.
But it's
it is.
The people who wear shorts, like your butt, it's on the seat. There's been thousands of butts on the seat.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like people who wear open-toed shoes.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see your feet.
It's not about seeing of the feet. It's the smelling of the feet. It's the fact I have to see your toe hair and the jam. I'm really out on feet and toenails to begin with, or like any form of nail. If I see a nail clipping, I might throw up. Like
I saw a dude clipping his toenails on the plane just not more than 6 weeks ago. Clipping his nasty ass toenails.
I'm in jail
on the plane.
I'm in jail for show. I'm in jail. I'm definitely in jail. What did you do? Were you close to him?
I was on the opposite side, and he's just big old nasty.
Wait, I don't believe
grizzy.
You.
I've got pictures on my phone.
There's no way.
I have got.
There's
really?
No way.
There's no way. Okay,
He's
well let me just show you because it's on my Instagram right now. Hold on, let me just get to this.
What's the person next to him doing?
I'm vomiting. I guess I don't know what the person. It was the. Hold on, just hang with me for a minute because
I'm like sweating. That's so gross.
Did
you say something to him?
No, I was on the other thing, but I was just like,
what do you mean you're on that? You were on the same aisle.
No, he was like a seat ahead of me or whatever, and I was back here on this seat.
Okay, but just think, what if one of those clippings does a little fling thing, as toenails tend to do?
Yeah, if the toenail hit me, then I would probably have to say something about it. But I was just so disgusted by it. I've seen that, but I've seen multiple people cut their fingernails on a plane.
I mean, just cutting. You can't cut your fingernails or nails in public. That's something you do in your own home, in your own bathroom, and then you make a point to make sure that you get rid of all of them. I can't even see a clipped fingernail, let alone be in the presence of someone.
Right. You should just stick your finger. If you're a seatmate, just stick your finger, pull a big booger out, and just wipe it over on his area. That's what you should do.
I can't say on.
Maybe not. That's maybe a little.
I can't say on wax what I would do to someone if they were sitting next to me and started clipping their toenails. What's the most disgusting thing one of your teammates has done on a plane?
Well, I don't. On a plane, I don't know. We actually paid a guy. I'm not going to give you a name, but we paid a guy. So we have one guy on our team that just produced the most immense boogers like you could ever imagine.
Oh my God.
And he would work it. So it'd be like one eye would shut and he'd be like knee deep in his nose. And then he just like really carefully, and he'd have this, like it'd have a vein. It'd have its own, like it'd have its own spine and central nervous system. Like he'd pull a booger out like that big. So we paid a guy to eat the other dude's booger.
Shut up.
Yo, yeah. And it only took like we raised, it was I think it was less than $100. And it was one of the most disgusting things. Although, you know, it's just I mean, it was this thing had a heartbeat.
Who ate it?
I'm not gonna give you the names of the
What team?
of the when I was with Denver.
Was he on the offensive line?
Look at you, you're just digging for information.
I just need to know what position. It matters.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of offensive lines, I do have a few football questions for you.
Okay, good.
Okay, so you've seen the clip in the fourth quarter, down 10. The Eagles' offensive line just decided they were going to all retire at the same time, and then Carson
yeah, I have
Wentz got
seen that.
mauled.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, again, this goes to me to the way you're coaching your football team. So they rush 3. So you get double teams on the edge, and you got 3 guys or 4 guys blocking one guy, and what ends up happening is you're figuring that ball has to be gone after about 4.5 seconds. And so they basically just, I call it playing with a body clock. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, that ball is gone. And it wasn't. And they just quit playing. And so I put that, like, it should never happen. But there's an old saying in the NFL or any sport in general is you're either coaching that or you're allowing that to happen. And so I look back on that coaching staff and say, what are you guys teaching these guys? Why did all those guys basically just say, okay, our body clock says that ball should be gone, and it wasn't gone? And so, like, that to me is it's inexcusable. I get it, but now as an organization, like, everybody wants to now point the finger at Carson Wentz, say Carson Wentz isn't any good, right? And there were 7 drops in that game. Yeah. If all 7 of those balls are caught, he's at 72 completion percentage. He threw 2 more touchdowns. Like, there's a lot you can look at and say, as a team, this isn't good enough. But it's the easiest thing in the world to do is point to Carson Wentz and say, oh, he sucks. You know?
I don't think Carson Wentz sucks, but I do think he should fight his entire offensive line.
You think they should?
Yeah. I mean, he got destroyed. Have you ever let it looks like they let him get hit.
No, they just thought the ball was gone. They are.
So it's technically Carson Wentz's fault for not throwing it.
No, I mean, it's not Carson Wentz's fault. Like, I would say this: if you can hold it for 6 seconds and one of your receivers can't shake open, then your receivers suck. Like, there's a lot of different. Every sack has a story. There's a story to be told, right? And it's not always, hey, your offensive line sucks, or hey, your quarterback holds it too long. There's a story behind every one of those. And in a team situation, every one of those sacks, there's somebody to blame. And when you roll through, like, I've been a part of an offensive line that you'll get however many sacks you give up during a game, and not one of them is credited to one of the offensive line. It's credited to a quarterback. It's credited to a tight end. It's credited to a running back. It's credited to coverage. So there's always, like, there's more to it than meets the eye.
Than just all of them deciding to stop working.
Right.
What do you make of Cleveland's offensive line?
Well, I mean, I don't think they've played well, but again, this is a Cleveland Browns issue in general. Like, I think it's much easier to deal with. Like, it's much easier to deal with failure. The human condition says that it's easier to deal with failure than it is success, because when you have success, it's really easy to pat yourself on the back and tell you how good you are, right? And I think I look at the Cleveland Browns, and I was really concerned about them rolling into this year because why? Because they were everybody's darling. They're supposed to win this, and Baker Mayfield's the greatest quarterback in the history of the game, and we just got Odell Beckham Jr. and man, we're going to be so dynamic, and like, that's not how it works. Like, everybody's really talented. Obviously, some teams are more talented than others, but this is still the ultimate team game, and it's about everybody working together and understanding the value of everybody else. And if you don't, I always kind of compare it to marriage. Marriage isn't a 50-50 proposition. It's a 100-100 proposition. If I'm not giving 100% of myself to you and you're not giving 100% of yourself to me, then it's not going to work. It's not a 50-50, let's keep tabs on who's doing what. And same with a great football team. You got to be willing to sacrifice 100% of yourself for your team. And if you're not, then your team is not going to be as good as it could be. And so, you look at the way they're constructed and, everybody is into – I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. comes on and introduces himself as – what did he introduce himself as?
I'm him.
I'm him. Yeah, I'm him. What does that mean? I'm him?
I mean –
Or no, I think he said I'm the one or I'm –
I think he said I'm him.
I'm him?
He said Odell, I'm him. Yeah.
Something like that? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, Odell is a different dude. Like, Odell is about – his swag and personality.
So
and
what is I'm him?
But that was the question.
Do you have any idea
that was
what
the
that
question
means?
with the Browns the whole time.
Right.
Like, what are they going to be?
I'm him. What does that mean? I'm him, the one who ain't won. Is that the I'm him?
I mean, he hasn't won. You're right about that.
Okay. Well, you're defending him.
I'm not defending him at all. I think that the Browns in general have a lot of problems, and it's
correct.
Like everything's kind of getting lumped on whatever you feel
listen,
like you want to put it on.
Listen, do you see this? Common ground, you and I.
Yeah. We agree on a lot of things.
We're on common ground right now.
Like, you really want to find that picture.
I do. I'm just thumbing through this.
Right,
It's driving me
picture.
crazy right now. I'll find it for you later. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm putting it away now. Look, I'll turn it upside down.
Thank you.
Okay, it no longer exists.
That's all good. What you were at the Lions-Cardinals game, which is how we spiraled into you being in your underwear and boogers.
Right.
What am I supposed to make of Kyler Murray?
I think Kyler Murray's an interesting cat. I think one, he's always had a chip on his shoulder because of 5'9.5" or 5'10", whatever he measured out to be, right? So I think there's always been this: you're not going to be good enough, or you're not going to be big enough, or you're not going to be whatever enough. And so I think he plays with an incredible chip on his shoulder. He's accurate. He's dynamic. He has got an attitude of I really don't give a crap what you think, which I think there's power in that. It's kind of the old wolves don't concern themselves with the opinion of sheep, and he's got plenty of that in him. So I think that's exciting. I think ultimately, though, you look at the way again, this is NFL football, and it's different than college football, is that form of offense and what they do kind of more spread and the way they're in shotgun 90 whatever % of the time, is that sustainable in today's NFL? And my thought process is no. But again, I'm old. And so I don't buy into that. Remember, like when Chip Kelly came into the league and was going to set the league on fire, right? And he was going to revolutionize the league. And I was totally like, this is never going to work. And they went 10-6, I think, the first year, and everybody was like, I told you so. And I'm like, no, you didn't tell me, squad, because this ain't going to work. Like, magic milkshakes are not going to make your team good. Eventually, what ends up happening is there's this battle of attrition that goes on. So I broke it down, the number of plays that the defense had to play. On average, if you average is 65 plays a game, if you're averaging 75 or 80 that you have to defend, by the end of the first quarter of the season, the first 4 games of the season, you've essentially played 5 games. So in a 16-game season, because the way that offense operates, you have to play 20 games on defense. And there's just not enough players.
Yeah.
You just don't have a big enough roster. So the complementary nature of football says it's an unsustainable format. And I look at the same thing. They got into a goal line situation. They ran 7 offensive linemen in the game because they don't have tight ends and they don't carry fullbacks. That's what they are. And now all of a sudden I got a 325-pound offensive lineman running the back line of the end zone going, look, I'm open, And I'm like, no, you're not. You're fat, right? I mean, that's just the way it works.
Right.
So, to me, there's a bit of a gimmick nature
and
to
that's kind of how I've felt about it too. It's not. I'm always rooting for the new thing to kind of take a little hold.
Right.
But I also think, like, as far as the offenses and Kyler Murray's size and Baker, and it's like the NFL in general is at this I don't know what the word is, but there's some confusion as to what the prototypical quarterback should be, because the way the draft's been going, you've got Baker, you've got Kyler,
Sure.
and it's like it's trending towards smaller skill and then everyone's out on Cam Newton, but then the guys who are still being consistent and winning are kind of on the bigger side. So what is it? What is the answer?
Yeah. Well, I think the answer in the NFL, I think that there's a couple things that change. Obviously, you don't have a wide side of the field. The hashes are together, right? So you can't just outrun everybody to the wide side of the field. And so when you get into those formations, the 3-by-1 or the 2-by-2, you don't have a big side of the field where you have more space. The field's the same width, but it's condensed because everything's played in the middle of the field.
Right.
So there's a difference in the way the field is constructed. Obviously, you don't have as many players to choose from, and so it's hard to operate that way because of just the condensed number of players you have on your roster. So all those things. Here's the other thing that to me, it makes it really hard. When you run everything out of shotgun, so when everything's behind the line of scrimmage, you eliminate, let's just call it, I don't know the exact number, but let's call it 40% of your run plays you eliminate. And it's really hard. It's really becomes difficult to tie play action. What makes offenses really good and dangerous is when your run game is completely married to your play action game and they look identical. It's hard to do that out of shotgun. The other thing that happens to you in shotgun runs is offensive linemen, when you think about this, if I'm running a ball from underneath center, you snap it to me, quarterback turns, the running back is already running toward him, right? And you hand it off, there's a mesh point there a couple yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And now you're attacking the line of scrimmage. When you run out of shotgun, I got to wait for the snap. I got to have you by my side, and then I hand you the ball. And then you're still 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Right. So
that mesh point takes longer. Well, we're not developing offensive linemen in this league that can block people. I mean, because of the college system. So now you're saying, hey, we're deficient as offensive linemen. We haven't worked on the skill of playing because we've eliminated contact from a contact sport because we're so afraid of the narrative that's been created by everybody outside of football that, oh, it's dangerous and, you're going to freak out and get CTE. Like, that's the narrative that we've allowed to be established from people outside our league, which is bullshit, but we've let it happen, right? And now, all of a sudden, when you hand that off, you're handing it off, and you're 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and there's an extra second and a half that you have to have unskilled players as offensive linemen because they haven't been allowed to work on their craft. You have to allow them to block for a second and a half longer. Well, guess what? They can't. And the defensive players on the other side of the field are so much more gifted.
Right.
So, there's so many reasons I get into why I don't think it'll work. So I'm like the rest of you, though. Let's see. I mean, let's sit and watch what happens.
It's premature.
And I'm not like, I like the kid, and I want everybody to have success. I just have certain beliefs that go, I don't think it's going to happen, but, I'm willing to watch.
Something else I didn't think was going to happen was the Bills being good. And they look pretty impressive through the first 3 games. So am I wrong on the Bills? Because I don't really believe in Josh Allen like that.
Well, I think here's the thing about Josh Allen. I think that Josh Allen, I think the whole accuracy thing coming out, it's real to a point. But have you ever been to Laramie, Wyoming?
No, can't say that I have.
Right. And don't book it anytime soon. Sorry, Wyoming folks. But I went there. So I went there to film this thing right after I retired for National Geographic. Okay. That's a whole nother story. They compared me to a dinosaur. And they have a big dinosaur.
Think that's a compliment.
Yeah, they have a big dinosaur in their museum library thing, right? And it's pretty cool. So I go to the airport. It's 75 degrees in Denver. It's like a beautiful May day. And my flight gets canceled because of wind advisories in Laramie. So it's about a 2.5-hour drive. So I'm talking to the National I go, I'll just drive. It's fine. I'll just drive up there, right? Jump in my truck. I drive up to Laramie. I get out of my truck, and it's 38 degrees and freaking blowing sideways. Like the wind, it's like a big wind tunnel. Laramie, Wyoming should be a science experiment is what it should be. I think it's really hard to recruit guys to come up there and say, hey, you want to come to Laramie and catch the ball as a wide receiver? You're like, no, I don't.
Right.
I'd rather go anywhere else.
And it's probably hard to throw in that as well.
Yeah, and I think the environment, and then plus, their coaching system or their philosophy, they ran a system that was more pro style, where it's more 5 and 7 step drops and really driving the ball down the football field, as opposed to, the college game that we see today, where it's all about throwing 8 bubble screens and a couple other swing passes, and next thing you know, you're 20 for 20, before you even start the game. So that said, Josh Allen's an incredible athlete. He's got a big time arm. I think there are some accuracy issues, but they make up for those the way they play the game. They are physical. They are nasty. They control the lines of scrimmage, and their defense is outstanding. So that's how they're going to win. That said, Patriots will go up there and beat them by 20. That's just the way it works.
That is how it works. So when they pitched you on the dinosaur thing, you weren't like offended? I think if they were like, we want to compare you to like a raptor or T-Rex, I could get behind that. That was what it was. Which dinosaur it is matters.
Right, yeah. The whole principle of that was that this particular dinosaur died from an injury. Like, it's like the T-Rex, it's like the alpha male dinosaur, the big hunter or whatever.
Right.
But the whole point was the battle of attrition that is playing in the NFL, and how injuries will eventually end your career.
Yeah.
These minor things. And this particular dinosaur, they speculated that a toe infection actually killed this dinosaur. Like, it got to the point where it could not defend itself anymore, and then all the little raptors ate it, or whatever it was,
Toe infection. But so was it a fierce dinosaur, or it was like a hippo dinosaur?
No, it was like a T-Rex.
Oh, was it a T-Rex, or was it like a T-Rex?
Well, it was one of those that was T-Rexy.
It was a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a badass dinosaur,
little
but it had the short arms.
Yeah, short arms.
Yeah, T-Rexes,
big legs.
I mean,
Yeah, it was something like that.
It had to evolve. It didn't make it. All right, so the toe infection, got it. What's the worst injury you've had? Because you have had you've had how many surgeries?
29.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's stupid.
I'm not a big surgery person. I tore my ACL, and that ended my soccer career forever.
Right.
And now I do the elliptical and yoga. And that was one ACL injury. So 29 injuries. What's the worst one you've ever had?
Well, the ACL was I tore my ACL in college, and I actually tore it in the third quarter and played the rest of the game on a torn ACL, and it was exceptionally painful when I tore it. And I limped off the sideline and kind of just caught my breath, and then I went back out and played. And then I got really hammered, and then I woke up the next day and was literally, I couldn't get out of bed. So you knew you did something really bad,
right?
And that was incredibly painful. And the surgery back then was, they used to say you do more damage fixing it than you did hurting it. Right?
I don't even understand how that made sense. So when you look at do you have the whole slice on your knee?
Oh yeah.
Mine is like 3 little dots. They used to cut open your whole leg.
Yeah, they used to cut your whole leg open, and so. Yeah, I mean, I've had a bunch of 6 microfracture surgeries because I don't have. So, you have the cartilage pads in your knee, right?
Right.
The shock absorbing. Those are all gone in my knee because I've torn them all out. And so then your bone is covered with what they call articular cartilage. So it's the covering of the bone. So it'd be like if this was a Formica table, you take the Formica off and expose the wood.
Right.
And so microfractures, they go in there and drill holes into the bone and try to scar over all that articular cartilage that's gone. So if you look at my knee, I've actually got a picture of my x-rays on my knee.
Somewhere in that phone.
Wait a minute, I could probably find this one. Hold on, time out. I think I can find this one. Hold on, I'm going to show you. There's a picture of my left knee. You can see the screws in it. And you can see where there's no space in it.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
But that doesn't look good.
But if you played one on TV, you'd say your knee is messed up.
You'd say, Mr. Schlereth.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have 2 screws. How'd they get the one right in the middle?
I don't know. That's an ACL deal.
Ugh.
So.
What do you think of? So Gronk, obviously, there's Andrew Luck just retired, which I don't know your opinion of, but I don't have any problem with that if he feels like he can't play everything that you're talking about. It's traumatizing even listening to, let alone actually having to experience it. Gronk obviously had a ton of injuries, and he was talking about the other day and was talking about CBD oil. So what do you think about if the NFL eventually moving into the legalizing marijuana and CBD treatments for players? Obviously, eventually it's going to be legal around the country.
Right.
But do you think that the NFL will adapt it? I think the NBA will eventually get there sooner than the NFL.
I think eventually they will. I don't know why they wouldn't. I just think I think it's ridiculous. If there is information out there and it can help guys, then I don't see what the holdup is, and it's legal in multiple states. I don't understand why they wouldn't use that as an alternative as opposed to alcohol and opiates and all that.
As opposed to like taking a handful of
right
Vicodin before you walk out on the field. Where are you this week? Are you doing a game this week?
Yeah, I've got Seattle at Arizona, so I'm back on the Kyler Murray train.
That's an interesting game because Kyler Murray is continuously compared to Russell Wilson, which I think Russell Wilson is the most disrespected quarterback probably ever because he's great and he does not get enough credit for how good he really is.
He is he is one of those guys, and I love this about him. He is he happens to be an exceptional. He's a great quarterback who happens to be an exceptional athlete. And a lot of the problem with college football nowadays is they take exceptional athletes and they try to make them into quarterbacks. Yeah. He's a quarterback first that happens to be an exceptionally gifted athlete, and I don't think they've done a great job outside of supporting him. O-line, receivers, all that stuff.
That's kind of why we've gotten to see what a great athlete he is.
And he's incredible. I love Russell. He's such an old soul type of guy. When you talk to him, he just is like, he's so just low key.
Unless he's doing a video for Sierra, and then he's really low key.
He's super low key on the.
He changes his voice. You don't know who Lizzo is, so you're probably not paying attention to the Instagram videos.
No.
It's okay. Well, we'll check that game out.
All right.
Thank you for joining us, and for just as a note, just maybe toss like a light robe in your bag when you're traveling, so you don't have to flash everybody in the bathroom at the airports.
Listen, you know what? When you got it, you flaunt it.
Okay, well.
Looking's for free. Touch is going to cost you.
Thank you, Steve.
You got it.
With it. With it. Quit it.
What?
With it. We about to turn up in this bitch.
Thank you to Mark Schlereth, Stink, for joining us again. Appreciate that. Heller, what am I witting or quitting today?
All right. The Giants finally looked big on Sunday with Daniel Jones at the helm. The number 6 overall pick threw for 336 yards and 2 touchdowns while running in 2 more TDs with Saquon on crutches, watching from the sideline. Saquon. Joy, the Giants should have started Danny Dimes week 1. Wit it or quit it.
Wit it. Daniel Jones should have started week 1. Like I said, he should have been in there from the jump. And I'll be honest, I was wrong with the draft. So was everyone else except for the Giants. So, big winners to the Giants front office there. Congrats, you got it right. For one game at least.
Is it Gettleman or Gentleman?
Gentleman?
Is it Gettleman? Dave Gentleman?
I love that bit. It's one of my favorite bits. But the point is, Daniel Jones should have started from week 1, which is what I always say when you draft a rookie quarterback in the top 10 in the NFL draft. You should start in week 1 because otherwise, what are you doing? Eli Manning is not good. He hasn't been good for like 4 years now. You benched him for Geno Smith. Remember that happened? I know it was McAdoo. We try to forget that even existed, but it did. And Daniel Jones should have been out there. You're not gonna. What did he learn in those first 2 weeks from sitting behind Eli Manning?
What not to do?
Maybe, I guess. Look, Saquon Barkley that has nothing to do with the situation. Like, obviously that sucks. Saquon is a superstar, and you would have loved to see Saquon out there alongside Daniel Jones for the start of Daniel Jones' career. We're not going to see that. He's going to be out for 8 weeks.
Oh, God, don't say 8 years.
8 weeks.
Oh, my gosh.
8 weeks. He'll be back this season, according to Saquon. We'll see. It's a high ankle sprain. But the point is he should have been out there from the beginning. And I don't understand. I just need someone to explain to me this mentality. Like, it happened with Hugh Jackson and Baker in Cleveland. You had a nice explanation for it when he was on with us. I think it had more to do with the front office. He was saying it's like, you can't say that this is this guy's team and then change your minds. I feel like you're the head coach. You can make those decisions anytime you want to. Or you're the front office, so you can make the decision anytime you want to. But I do think there's a value to saying, this is your team in training camp. This is your team all the way through preseason. You're the guy. You're the leader. Let's go. Obviously, the season's not over. Eli Manning is handling it with class, as of course he's expected to. Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. If you disagree, I'm sorry to inform you. He's not gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Dude's going into the Hall of Fame. All right, it's happening. He has 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and he beat Tom Brady in his prime in both of them.
It's better than Namath, so he'll probably get in there, but.
I mean, I get it. He's not his brother, but he's a Hall of Famer. He's on the he's on the curve. He's on the little. He's like right here, but he's in. He's like right there. This is not Hall of Fame. This is him, but he's in.
How about this? He gets in if the bust is full Eli face. Like if he looks like he's about to make a whimpering sound in his bust, he could be in there.
That's the trade-off.
I think so.
He'd probably
it's
take
fair.
it.
Yeah,
he'd probably take it. But the point is, like, Eli had a great career, Hall of Fame career, whether you like it or not, and whether the stats support it or not. And the NFL Hall of Fame is not really the Hall of Fame that does that. The guys that shouldn't get in, that's the NBA, but he's going to be in regardless. Anyway, Daniel Jones won in dramatic fashion. He was running, he was mobile, he looked young, he looked strong. He's the guy, and I don't want to overreact to the next couple weeks because he could struggle. I mean, they have the Redskins at home and they have the Vikings at home, so at least they're home for the next 2 games, so he can get some momentum going. But it's the Daniel Jones era in New York. I said it from the beginning; it should have been his team. I never understand what these 2 games. We just got to see for 2 more games. We have to see what Eli Manning. If he's got it, just 2 more games, we'll figure it out. It's just like you just why? What is the explanation?
just to lose 2 games.
Yes.
Now he really
wanted to lose those 2 games.
And now this dude's in the hole for 2 games, and even if he goes on a crazy run,
let's say Eli sucked in those 2 games and they won both of them. Is it still Eli's job?
What? Yeah. What?
Does Daniel Jones have something more to learn from sitting behind Eli in that spot? It's just really frustrating, but I'm glad that it's finally Daniel Jones' team, and I look forward to seeing what he can do and see how wrong we all were about reacting to the draft. Or maybe we'll be right, and this was a huge disaster, and they lose every game for the rest of the season. Who knows? But at least they made a decision. Make a decision.
Time for Dwayne Haskins to get in there too, probably, huh?
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but
Jay Gruden is going to ride off into the sunset with Case Keenum.
Week 8.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Cool. Switching to last year's quarterback news, Baker Mayfield and the Browns lost a very winnable game to the Browns at home on Sunday night.
To the Rams, yeah.
Did I say Browns?
You did say Browns. That's okay.
Baker Mayfield and the Browns lost a very winnable game at home
to the Rams.
On Sunday night. That was on Sunday, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Second read troubles. Cleveland drops to 1-2, heading into a rough week at Baltimore. Joy. The Browns need an identity even more than they need a win. Wit it or quit it.
Wit it. I have no idea what the Browns are. Before the season, they were young and fun and expectations and Odell and Baker and commercials and Jarvis Landry and Myles Garrett and Freddie Kitchens is a tough Ohio guy. Wears a hat.
Looks like he drives a truck.
Probably does drive a truck. I mean, you have to have a truck out there. You know, the roads get really bad in the winter. It just makes more sense to have 4-wheel drive. But the point is, everyone is now overreacting to them being 1-2, which is stupid because the Browns have a really rough schedule and a start to the season. We knew that. But the struggles that they're having are what's more confusing. I don't think this is entirely Baker's fault. Obviously, he's holding the ball too long. The play calling needs to change. Rex Ryan like freaked out and was like he's overrated and he's slow and he panics in the pocket and tries to improvise. He is right about the slow part. Baker's slow for his position and for the NFL. Like not regular people slow. Regular people, Baker will beat you running backwards. But
unless you're the police.
True.
This has been on tape that he's not the fastest.
Not debatable.
The tape.
It's his worst tape. I've maintained
we talk about tape a lot.
It's the worst thing he's put on tape. But he is slow, and relatively speaking. So call more slants, run the ball. Obviously, the play calling at the end of that game was a disaster. But the whole reason why we're freaking out is because that was a winnable game. Now, I knew the Rams were going to win because I know everything. But the way that they lost that game was ugly. 4th and 9 draw is not. Everyone knows that's not what you call. It's not. And he's admitted it, like that was a mistake. But it's kind of like, well, if it's so obvious that wasn't the call, why'd you call it?
Thought they were going to outsmart everyone who had ever had a 4th and 9. Are you trying to be the smartest guy in the room, or what? And then no running the ball on 4 downs at the goal line with 3 timeouts it's inconceivable. It's inconceivable that you would do that. It's erroneous. And no one has any idea what Freddie Kitchens is doing because Freddie Kitchens doesn't know what he's doing. And that's okay because he's never been a coordinator before. So why would anyone expect us to go any differently? And this is what always bothers me about organizations that hire inexperienced coaches for the purpose of maintaining control over the organization. And I'm not saying that's the entire reason why, but it did appear that this was Baker's choice. Baker is in his 2nd year in the NFL. He's not Tom Brady.
He's not Aaron Rodgers. Okay. He's in his second year. He shouldn't be making his opinion about who the head coach should be should not matter that much. He's going to be there for a while no matter what. Maybe you hire an experienced guy to get this ship out of the harbor. What's Mike McCarthy doing? Is he busy? And I'm not saying fire Freddie Kitchens because we all know they're going to fire Freddie Kitchens. Like we know that, right? Yep. They're going to fire him.
That's what they do. Yeah, that's what they do.
Baker's on his third head coach in his second year.
Remember, Hugh had to jump in that frozen lake just to keep his job.
They have no identity. Like the identity is they're the Cleveland Browns.
They're
still the Cleveland Browns until we've seen otherwise. And I don't want to overreact. And Baker's saying, no one should panic, and he's right. They shouldn't panic, but they're going to panic because of the Cleveland Browns and because you had unrealistic expectations in the situation to begin with. And I like Freddie Kitchens, and I'm rooting for him. I don't think that he is showing his inexperience, but that's because he's inexperienced. So if you're an experienced coach and you're making decisions like this, then it's like, okay, what's going on here? Like, is there a disconnect with Baker? It can't all be his fault. And I think there's plenty of blame to go around. The offensive line is clearly not great, which is why Baker feels pressure to run out. And just as a note, Baker, the end zone's that way. So the continuously running in the other direction and throwing off your back foot, like you're not Aaron Rodgers. Baker's a very accurate quarterback when he sits there and gets it out. But when the pocket is pressing on you and you start to feel panicked and you feel like you can use your legs, I mean, you're not going to outrun Aaron Donald. It's just most people don't.
He's taking too many hits.
That's why he's Aaron Donald.
He's taking too many hits.
It's not even that he's taking too many hits. He's throwing these insane passes that no one could catch and no one could make. Like Aaron Rodgers makes those in playoff games in crunch time. That's when you make that throw. They should not be a regular season game throw for no reason when you're in the game against the Rams. Like sit there and be mechanical, like do what you do. But he's not able to do what he does because he doesn't have the pieces around him right now. And it's not that he doesn't have, we know he has Odell. We know he has Jarvis. And everyone's panicking about Odell not getting the ball in the ends. I get it. Like, I could live with them throwing to Odell 4 times and him not getting it, and that's how they lose because it's Odell.
Right. You got to try, though.
Especially when you do what you did and that didn't work either.
Right. They were saying on the broadcast, I thought this was interesting, that, like, there's maybe some concern that Odell and Jarvis aren't running the routes exactly as they had all planned them to run. Do you see that? Do you feel that? Or does Baker just need to hit him no matter what?
I mean, if an analyst who has watched football for 30 years knows their plays and then watches it and Odell and Jarvis are not running the routes they're supposed to run, then sure. But I think for us, that's probably a little bit of speculation.
Yeah.
Unless that's actually coming from a source like Baker.
Yeah.
Or the offensive coordinator. But so I'm not going to dig that deep, but I do think that they still lack an identity. They have no rhythm on offense, and they're still the Browns. Like that's their identity. They're still the Browns until you prove to me otherwise. I still think that they're an exciting team. I think it's better to be exciting and bad than boring and bad. But they got to get it together and quick. And I don't want to overreact to the first part of the season because we knew they had a rough season. But man, that was something, huh?
Yeah, Browns.
That's not the
Browns.
way you want to lose.
No.
Not the way you want to lose. Hear ye, I am petty. I am him. LaMelo Ball is trending everywhere today because there's a big article out now that all of the NBA teams, after seeing how great he is down under, that he could possibly be the number 1 overall pick. Too bad Earl said that like 2 years ago, that he was going to be the best ball brother and the number 1 overall pick, and everyone's like, what do you mean? Like, you could see it in the JBA. You could see the talent level that he had. He was obviously very raw. Most of you probably didn't watch any JBA games, but while you were too busy clowning on LeVar, he's back. LeVar's back, undefeated, never lost.
Never lost.
Never lost. The only thing he is wrong about is, a couple things, but he's right about LaMelo. He was right about Lonzo, and he is right about LaMelo. LaMelo put on a show. There were 27 scouts down there in Tasmania. He had 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists. I mean, you can tell just watching the videos of him. He's a gym rat. Like, he loves ball, and he's gonna be great. Like, he's swaggy and has his own personality. LeVar is behind the scenes with him. He's going to be a superstar in the NBA, and he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. I just want to know, because I'm looking for y'all, where's everyone yelling and screaming about how stupid LeVar is for making him play pro instead of college? Where are you? Y'all just gonna ghost on about the NBA teams have now decided that he's gonna be the #1 overall pick? Like now you're just gonna ghost? That's what's happening. I just think it's silly that everybody was so dramatic about how this was going to turn out, and he's playing in Lithuania. And look, none of that's ideal. Like, obviously, it would be cool to see him with a college team, but that's not the path that they chose, and they're still winning. So I just think it's funny that everyone wants to leave me on red now that he's killing it. Undefeated, never lost. We told you about this. Earl was so 100% right about this so long ago. Everyone is so late. It's not a hot take. You're way late to the scene on the LaMelo Ball. Like, if you think you're the person that's like, oh my God, LaMelo Ball is totally the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft 2020, you're mad hella late.
I was scouting Australian basketball the other night on Reddit, and I
look,
found out that LaMelo's actually pretty good.
Right. If you were at the JBA games, holla at me, like, respect. But you probably weren't. And you probably were trashing the JBA and probably talking all that mad noise. And so you're late. Like, it's cute. Welcome aboard. There's already people on the bandwagon. Just want to make sure that everybody knows that you're late.
If you want to know how late you were, you could dig deep into the Maybe I'm Crazy Instagram archives and find the dope mashup we cut of Melo balling out at JBL Game 1. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. And you probably won't because you didn't feel like doing that much research to begin with. So a couple scrolls down the Maybe I'm Crazy timeline is probably too much for you to do anyway. I'm really talking mad hellish right now, but it's when I'm so far ahead of the game, when we're so far ahead of the game on something, I feel like it's necessary to say. I'm so dedicated to being right about this. I spent about 15-20 minutes looking for an appropriate "you're late" GIF to tweet about this, and I chose not to tweet it because I couldn't find the proper GIF to emphasize how late everyone is on this.
Sticking with GIF, huh?
Is it GIF?
I think
Gentlemen?
Gentlemen?
That's my favorite. All right, high key. Cam Newton is probably done in Carolina, and low key, he is very misunderstood. So he's injured. He was out last week, and of course, Panthers looked amazing. Kyle Allen, that guy, was out there slinging it like Mahomes, smacking the Cardinals 38-20, had 261 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 85.5 QBR, 73 completion percentage. I mean, it's everything the Panthers could dream of. Cam being out, and then their new guy comes in and has an amazing game. Granted, it was against the Cardinals, but regardless, you win the games you play. Cam is out again this week against Houston. He has a Liz Frank injury, which is also known as a Liz Frank fracture. So it's an injury of the foot in which one or more of the metatarsal bones, metatarsal? Multiple T's in there, I don't know.
I think it's metatarsal.
Metatarsal? I said it right the first time, I'm a doctor. Is displaced from the tarsus. Ouch. I don't know what it is, but it's lots of bones not where they're supposed to be, so it sounds painful. But it's now become open season on Cam because all of a sudden he's washed up and he never lived up to expectations and he's always hurt, and I just fundamentally disagree with the narrative on Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton is a superstar, and he has regressed, and the game has changed, and his type of game is not what works in the NFL anymore. You have to be accurate. You have to be skill-oriented first, and that's not what Cam is. Cam is a giant specimen of a person who would bulldoze people and put his body out there, and now he's injured. Now, we all knew that this wasn't sustainable, which is anytime a running quarterback comes into the league, we get nervous because of what we've seen happen to Cam Newton. Cam was a league MVP. He had an MVP season and went to a Super Bowl. You wouldn't say that Matt Ryan is a disappointment, would you?
Only now.
Okay, but like, are people freaking out that Matt Ryan's not playing well? No. Like, it's the only reason that people talk about Cam the way that he does is because he's so interesting and because he's such a good athlete and because he's a star. That's the only reason why he gets the hate that he gets. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro in 2015, obviously MVP, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, like Rookie of the Year, SEC champ 2 times, Heisman Trophy winner. Like, he's had an incredible career and has not by no means or measurements been a disappointment. Carolina was in the playoffs 4 years in a row. They went to a Super Bowl. Do you know how it would do for the Dolphins to have the streak that the Panthers have had with Cam Newton? It's like, I understand that you have these certain expectations of him, but that's you. Like, that doesn't mean that his career has been a failure. And people give him a hard time because, you know, he's into fashion and this whole idea that he's like distracted and he's got all these other things going on. So does everyone. anyone, okay, but for that matter, then no one should do a commercial. Nobody says Aaron Rodgers is distracted. He's had like 75 State Farm commercials with that annoying ass agent dude. Stop doing that one. It's terrible. I hate that one. Aaron Rodgers is so good in commercials. He's got this cornball. My agent has an app. And then they put in Patrick Mahomes in this mess.
Yeah, they're dragging him in there quick.
Yeah, like State Farm is better than that. They have really good commercials, and that streak of ones we're going to redo those. The point is, nobody says Aaron Rodgers is distracted. When Aaron Rodgers isn't when he's injured because he's running around taking hits he shouldn't take, nobody's saying that he has too much going on off the field. It's just there's a specific reason why Cam Newton gets the hate that he does, and it's not fair. Like, he's not been in trouble off the field. He had that one incident with the reporter laughing at the routes question. Okay, like, I think we've all moved on from that. As disrespectful as it was, like, that situation kind of played out in its own special way.
And if we're pulling every bad card on anyone ever, there's a bunch of quarterbacks
we're
with
not
way
doing that.
worse
We're not
mistakes.
pulling every bad
right,
card. That's my point.
Yeah.
Like, the days of being a specimen 6'6" Cam Newton-esque quarterback are over. No one cares about that. You have to be accurate first and be an athlete while also being not injury prone. That's not what Cam Newton is. But then you have the people who are like, well, he shouldn't play like that. He shouldn't take those hits. But in Super Bowl, he didn't lay his body on the line for the turnover. Like, what is it? You can't have it both ways. You really can't. It's like, Cam Newton has had an incredibly successful career. I don't know if it's over or not. Like, I think his time in Carolina is done. And sometimes you just need to move on. He might have some success somewhere else for a few more years. I don't know, because his body is failing him. But this idea that Cam Newton is this colossal disappointment and he's a selfish guy and all he cares about is wearing scarves and fancy hats, like, just relax, all right? Cam is ahead of his time when it comes to fashion and swag and commercials and being like a visible, actual superstar quarterback. He was ahead of his time in that way, and then the game has passed him as far as physicality and accuracy. But Cam Newton has had nothing less than an incredibly successful career. Carolina fans should be incredibly grateful for the stretch that they've had. Don't be ungrateful. The football guys remember when fans are ungrateful. So that's a warning for you, Panthers fans.
Yeah, you want Kyle Allen, you might just get him.
Exactly. Careful what you wish for. Although that was a great game, though.
I mean, backup quarterback's the best job ever.
Best.
The best job ever.
Best. Woo! We're all in the wrong business.
Everyone wants you to play, but you don't have to do anything.
Right. And then if you get out there and you're not successful, it's like, well,
you're the backup. That's why he's the backup. But if you get out there and the other team's, the Cardinals, and you ball out in a great circumstance.
No, let's see what happens in the next couple weeks. So high key, the Steelers are done. Low key, the era of Ben is done too. I've been saying it and 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 saying it. You need talent to win in professional sports. Who'd have thunk it? I'm a genius. What do you know? What do you know? Juju Smith-Schuster is not as good as Antonio Brown. System sounds really cute. A culture sounds cute. I like a good culture, but you can have both of those and no talent and still accomplish nothing. Remember back when they didn't want to pay Le'Veon Bell, and I thought it was a good idea that they pay Le'Veon Bell? Well, if you look at what Le'Veon Bell has done this year and James Conner's done this year, spoiler alert, Le'Veon Bell's better. Now, they're both 0-3, so that's fine. But Sam Darnold's been out, and you've had Big Ben for 2 weeks. Like, Juju's great. That's fine. James Conner's fun. I like Mason Rudolph. That's all great, but they're not Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Ben Roethlisberger. It's just, I know the Steelers thought that this was going to be the year that they prove everybody wrong with that they don't need those guys, and it's just not true. Like, you needed them, and you needed to win a championship when all three of them were there. And we all know what's happened with Antonio Brown. I get it. But you had the three of them there working together, actually liking each other, and you weren't able to win a Super Bowl. Now they're all gone. Now, Ben is obviously still there. He's going to be gone for a year. He's going to come back. He's not going to be the same. It's like, that's just how it's going to work. So I've been saying it. They're not going to win another championship with Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin together. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. I don't think Mason Rudolph is the guy. And I'm saying that after one game, but
How long do you think they'll keep Tomlin, though? Because, like, if this was any other organization, you'd be like, yeah, 0-3, a couple bad seasons, see you later. But it's the Steelers. He's like their third coach ever.
To me, I mean, 0-3 is an absolute disaster for the Steelers. It's a disaster. There's no other way to put it.
And they should have beat the Niners this week.
Yeah, the 49ers were demanding that you win that game. And you were not about that winning life.
Here's the ball again.
They insisted that you win the game.
Here's
and
the ball
again.
And you
were like, no, I will not. Yeah. I will not take the dub. Sorry. I'm above it. It's an L for us this week. Thank you. I mean, it's just what it is. Like, I don't... It's probably too soon to say on Mason Rudolph, but I just don't think he has the talent around him at this point to carry it. It's a disaster they're starting 0-3. To your question, Tomlin's fine. The Steelers are not in the firing coach's business, which they shouldn't. But it's a full reset now, and that's not going to happen because Ben's going to come back next year. So there's going to be a couple more years of this. And, I'm disappointed. And now my football life is just an abysmal mess. And, this is what I get for
You got 2 chances to go defeated this year, Joy.
Yeah, I'm taking L's all over the NFL this year. The worst team in NFL history in the Dolphins, and now I don't know what's going to happen with the Steelers. Speaking of AB, I'll keep this short, but high-key, he is done for now in the NFL. I think he gets signed with another team. But low-key, what was the point of that with the Patriots? Like, it's pretty clear that cutting him was a PR move for the Patriots to let him go, and I'm just trying to figure out what the whole point of it is. Like, you really needed him for the Dolphins game? Like, you felt like...
Does he get a ring if they win the Super Bowl?
I think he does, yeah.
That's not ideal.
That is incredibly ironic, actually. Especially considering what's going on with the Steelers. I don't want to get into everything that's happened with AB because there's no point in discussing it. And I don't talk about off the field stuff with players anymore until we hold everyone to that standard. But the Patriots had to know what was going on. These things are not quiet. Information is the most valuable currency in the world, not just in sports, in politics, in our business. Like, if you have valuable information, you have leverage. And I don't understand how the Patriots signed him not knowing this was going on. And then once you did know what was going on, you still kept him on for a game. So why are you cutting him now? Like, he's not, I don't understand what the point of all of that was. I don't get it, and it didn't help them in any way. It's just an extra distraction for the whole team, and I'm still trying to understand what happened. Loser power rankings. These are the losers of the week. All right, Michigan is a loser this week. They lost to Wisconsin 35-14, took that thumping. Yeah, aside from stealing several hours of my Saturday with that week, I don't know what is going on in Michigan. They're 1-6 on the road against ranked opponents in the Harbaugh era. I don't think he's going to get fired. Maybe. I don't know.
Does he want to get fired?
He might want to get fired. They looked terrible. They looked terrible. Wisconsin thumped that ass. Like, it was an embarrassment.
And that's how Wisconsin played is how Jim Harbaugh teams usually play.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what's
He's out there spreading it out with the transfer quarterbacks and the whole thing. Like,
and he in the press conference, like, saying you got out coached and all that stuff like that. Anybody trying to hear that? You need real answers for what's really going on in Michigan, and no one really knows. Next on the losers is Cowboy haters. It's just your weekly reminder that I'm right about the Cowboys. I'm going to continue to be.
They're real
going
good.
To the Super Bowl. They are really good. I don't care about that first half against Miami. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're the winners. So that's just your weekly reminder. They play the Saints this week, so I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. But right now, I'm still right. Finally, I don't know what is going on. What I might be wrong about is the Eagles winning the division, because the Eagles are not winning. What's happening? What's happening with your Eagles? Everyone's hurt? Did they forget how to catch balls, though? They did 7 drops. They did provide us with some excellent internet content, though. The local hero that was catching babies out of a burning building, and then also took the time to remind us that Aguilar is not catching footballs, was some of the best video on the internet this week.
So Philadelphia.
It was so Philly.
So Philly.
It was perfect, and Aguilar. It was so perfect, in fact, that Aguilar even respected it. Like, he reached out to him, like, tweeted and was like, "I want to bring him to a game," which is cool of him, like, to not get mad about that, because you know you did drop the ball, so. Yeah.
But just for that guy in his moment, they're putting him on TV to just dap him up and tell him how great he did, and he just spun it back to.
That's a pretty awesome thing to do to catch kids out of a building. That's some movie stuff.
And he spun it back to hating players on his own sports team. Is there anything more Philly than that?
There's nothing more Philadelphia than that. All right, and the Migos Culture Report this week. Speaking of Migos, Cardi B was unfortunately attached to some information that Tekashi 6ix9ine decided to release in court. So this is just my feeling on the situation. Stop snitching. Very anti-snitches. And also, you should probably stop clout chasing while you're at it. I've always hated Tekashi 6ix9ine. I just kind of kept my opinion about him to myself because I wasn't sure if I was being an old person and hating him. And it turns out, no, I'm not an old person. I'm just right. He sucks. He's the worst ever. And I'm validated again. It's just I'm constantly right about everything. And he's just the worst. Like, he's the worst. Look, he is the worst. He's the worst. He's always been the worst. I just knew he was the worst, and I should have told everybody he's the worst, so then we could have all avoided having to deal with the worstness that he is. He's the worst. You don't just wake up one day and become a gangster, and this is a perfect example of why.
Yeah, and, you know, he didn't do any services for people who believe that face tattoos or crazy hair don't make you stand out in a bad way, because, I mean, he sucks. Yeah.
That's my official opinion on it. Like, quote me if you want to. He's the worst.
Did he throw your name in there at all, or he just Jim Jones and
not
Cardi?
To be smart.
Yeah.
I'm not to be smart. I'm not to be snitched on. He's the worst. That's been everywhere this week, so we just had to mention that. In a more positive note, I woke up on a Tuesday morning today, and what am I greeted with? I'm greeted with Adam Sandler realness. Okay, so. Whoa. I had no idea this was even a thing. Had you known about this? Had anyone known that this was in the works? You did?
Finally, yes.
Jeremy, how do you have this knowledge? What do you mean? It's like an underground.
Casey Musgraves tweeted about it, so he was aware.
Funny. No.
That could be a good drop for us. Actually.
How did you know this was in the works?
I mean, just film news. I like the directors a lot. I've been following them for a while. They don't miss. So this is gonna be.
Oh, this is gonna be some heat, right?
What they shoot and make with before?
Good Time with Robert Pattinson. Last year. Yeah.
Well.
Is that like the fourth? What was the Dracula movie he was in?
Okay, it's not. Okay.
Twilight's what you were looking for.
Yeah.
I really like Twilight. Actually, I'm pissed.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
Twilight
pissed I couldn't remember.
Good.
Yeah, for sure. I sparkle in the sunlight also.
And I'm completely blanking on what those creatures are right now because my brain's starting to not work.
Werewolves?
Nope, not werewolves.
Vampires?
Vampires. Anyway, the name of the movie is Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler plays a Jewish jeweler. Mike Francesa plays a bookie. Kevin Garnett plays himself. And Dina Menzel, Lakeith Stanfield, The Weeknd. What did John Travolta call Dina Menzel?
Adele Dazeem.
Adele Dazeem is in this movie. Okay, it's some big onion flex out of Sandler because Sandler does a really good job of doing movies on beaches that are romantic comedies with awesome co-stars, and then all of a sudden he drops this thunder monster on us. Like, just take that and enjoy it. I mean, look at the preview of this movie. Mike Francesa plays a bookie. He curses. No one who has ever seen a sporting event or has heard a sound come out of radio in New York is not going to see this movie. Everyone's going to see it. And the best part of it is that Adam Sandler's going to Debo Brad Pitt out of an Oscar. My mama got me this spacesuit.
Yeah, can you imagine?
It's so going to happen. I can't look at it. It's just beautiful. It's going to be so good. And it's just such an absolute flex by Sandler because he gets so disrespected.
Like, what the hell happened?
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's like gained weight, right? Like he
got hand fat.
That's hand fat. I'm so excited for this movie. I can't believe that I was completely slept on when it came to this. So that's our preview for Uncut Gems. Kevin Garnett, I can't wait to see that. It's going to be so good. It looks amazing.
Anything's
if it
possible.
disappoints, I'm going to be very upset. But it looks like it's getting Oscar buzz already, which is why it's totally he's totally winning the Oscar, and Brad Pitt's going to be out of it. It's going to be hilarious.
When you can cut between a shot of Adam Sandler and Lakeith Stanfield and nothing looks weird, they pulled it off. It looks it looks great.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. I just randomly on a Tuesday, we're just going to drop this on you. Yeah. And Mike Francesa is going to kill it. I mean, he's playing himself, playing a bookie, right? Yeah. We deserve this movie. We really do. All right, thanks for joining us this week. Thank you to Schlereth coming by and telling us really gross stories. If you see Schlereth in the airport, he's not, well, he is being weird, but he's just changing because he doesn't want to fly in a suit. That's what's really going on in the airport bathroom. Hopefully he's not just doing that in the runways there by the Panda Express. Thanks to him for joining us. Always great to have him on. Make sure you follow us on our social media pages at Maybe I'm Crazy Pod and subscribe at the Maybe I'm Crazy Podcast on YouTube. We're on iHeartMedia app. We are on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I'm forgetting something. YouTube. That's it. That's everything. You can find us in one of those places.
Just if you type in maybe I'm
Crazy
on
with
YouTube.
Joy
No,
Taylor
even
will
maybe
pop up.
I'm crazy's like the third one. We climb.
We're climbing. Thank you for that. And shout out to the Maybe I'm Crazy Fantasy Football League. I think I won again this week. I can't keep track because I did win because I won 2 and I lost 1. I lost my all women's league. Got thumped in that one.
I got off the schneid. I'm no longer defeated.
Oh,
So I'm feeling good about it.
nice. Did someone come through for you this week?
Yeah, but I don't remember who it was.
Oh, really dedicated.
Yeah, really. We're really into it. We'll get going.
I picked up Phillip Rivers this week because Drew Brees is my quarterback.
Phillip Rivers was just a Vales?
Yeah, I know. It's weird, right?
Wow. I guess we're not the only ones sleeping on our own fantasy league.
Yeah. I had to scoop him because they're playing the Dolphins this week, and Derek Carr was not the guy.
They could lose that.
Yeah, they could because of the Chargers.
They're the Chargers, and the Dolphins are the Dolphins, but they're the Chargers.
It is. If you have the gambling type, you might want to be careful on that one. But anyway, thanks for joining us this week, and we'll catch you next week.
Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.